Hey everybody, it's Tiffany with Rock Bottom Wellness. This is day 10 of the 21-day Back to Basics Health Challenge. And today the topic is about gluten. This is something that's talked about all the time, and a lot of people have a lot of misinformation about it. I'm going to try to clear some of it up for you. So I'm not one of those people that says everybody should be 100% gluten-free, but I kind of feel like most people should be gluten-free, and I'll tell you why in a second. So gluten, let's go back to the basics here for a second. Gluten is the protein found in wheat, barley, and rye. There is gluten in other types of grains as well. It just doesn't seem to be the one that causes what we are most familiar with, which is celiac disease. So celiac disease is an autoimmune condition that attacks the lining of your gut. It breaks down the little hairs in your gut, the villi that help absorb the nutrients, and that's why people with celiac disease, if they don't keep gluten out of their diet, become really, really sick. They can become emaciated. It's a horrible disease if it's not treated, and the treatment, right now anyway, is just keeping away from gluten. So then there's another variation of it called gluten intolerance or gluten sensitivity. Now, oftentimes it's not even recognized as an issue for people, but I know firsthand, and I know many people just working with many people, that gluten removed from their diet helps them feel so much better. It can eliminate joint pain, it can help with headaches, it can help with GI symptoms, all kinds of things. So it can have 1,001 symptoms, and that's why it's so hard. Is it connected to something else? Is it just the straight up gluten? Is it the gluten from a processed food that's causing your issues? Are there other things in that food that are the culprit? So what I challenge you to do is to go through that 30-day challenge, but using whole foods. So one mistake people make all the time, and I try to explain this to people to make sure that they're eating the healthiest diet they possibly can. When you start removing gluten from the diet, it is so tempting to just use gluten-free versions of the things you were eating before. Usually those replacements, those substitutions for the gluten in the foods are not any healthier. In fact, they're probably less healthy and cause more of a blood sugar spike response. They cause more inflammation. And over time, you're just defeating the purpose. And the one thing I've seen a lot with that is when people start eating gluten-free waffles or gluten-free bread, and they eat gluten-free muffins and that type, crackers and that type of thing instead of the other kind, they actually start gaining weight, which is usually not what people are trying to do when I'm working with them. So just use that as a fair warning. You want to go back to whole foods as much as possible. So some things that contain gluten that you might be surprised are going to be sauces and gravies. Usually if you're buying processed versions or ready-made versions, they're going to be thickened with wheat flour. Easy substitution at home is you can use cornstarch. Hopefully it's a good quality cornstarch, or you can use arrowroot powder. You can use that teaspoon for teaspoon or measure for measure. It's really easy to use, and it does the same thing. So that's a really easy replacement. Using some good quality gluten-free breads, and just don't do it with every meal or use it as much. Try eliminating the gluten products that you normally use. You don't have to serve bread with every single meal. You don't have to have cereal and toast for breakfast. You can use eggs and vegetables and that type of thing. You need to switch it up to really get the feeling, because if you're feeling bad when you eat gluten. So when you remove it and then you're adding in better foods, you're going to have a lot better results, because you're going to be upping your nutrition. And that is the goal of everything that I'm trying to tell you here. So that is a challenge for you today, is to consider whether or not you want to do some kind of elimination diet. I'd say 30 days is a really good challenge for your body to see if you feel better being gluten-free. And I also suggest that maybe even after 2 weeks, you're going to feel some improvement on that. So I really suggest checking it out and see if it changes your symptoms. And if not, that you can tolerate some gluten, and make sure that the gluten that you eat is of high quality whole food most of the time. So that is my challenge for you for day 10. I'll be back more with day 11 tomorrow. Have a great night. Thanks.